page 88, section C, where you have the three words av, ach, and pay. We've run into problems with this before on the construct side. And I simply want to work through what we have in sort of the summary table on the next page. If I can zoom this out just a little bit. With some of the problems, okay? Consider the word av. The absolute isn't a problem, but do you remember what happened in the construct state? We had that extra heric yod, right? In fact, you had a quiz, not the last one, but the one to last, I guess. Remember that last one on the quiz? It was something like the brothers of the father of somebody or another, the priest. Right. And you realized that you have that extra heric yod in the singular. Now, 2 days ago, that was enough of a problem, but now it's an additional problem. Why? Because you see a noun that ends in heric yod, and now you know that that heric yod could well be, no, the pronominal suffix of the first singular pronoun, me, or as a possessive attached to a noun, my. Right? So what's the difference between the construct form, which for no good reason seems to have this extra heric yod, and the form with pronominal suffixes, which could have the heric yod as the pronominal suffix my? Well, it's on the list, so what's the difference between avi, my father, and avi, the father of? Answer? Construct vowel reduction. Nouns in the construct state purge all long vowels. And you'll see that this avi still has the vowel of av. But this avi has shortened the comets in an open syllable to schwa, which is what construct nouns are supposed to do. That's your clue that this is a construct form and that this one is not. Okay? That's the first problem. Now, the second problem is that that extra heric yod also starts showing up in other forms with pronominal suffixes. Do you see this? In other words, if you wanted to say his father, you'd just take the noun av and you'd add the pronominal suffix o and you'd have his av, right? This is like sus, suso, his sus, his horse. But av and ach too add this extra heric yod also to forms with the pronominal suffixes, so that the base noun is no longer av but avi, and the pronominal suffix could be an o, but sometimes uses this alternate form who. Now you can figure that out. Who is obviously third masculine singular, so it's his. Ha, ka, ka. You can figure out all those pronominal suffixes as his something, her something, your something, right? But what's the problem here? What's the problem here? Now you see that extra yod in there, and what's your first instinct? That this is the kind of pronominal suffix that's attached to a plural noun. And the key to sorting this out is by recognizing that that yod is not part of the suffix, but an extra yod that's really part of the noun. Now that's just annoying, and please don't throw anything at me. Okay, I didn't make this up. Okay? So now you're confused between knowing whether the noun is singular or plural because the suffix looks a little funny. Now, if you're smart, it'll come to your attention that the plural of av is what? Of oath. And what happens to a noun that, even though it's still masculine in gender, is now feminine in